Hello everyone and welcome back to Cute Crochet. My name is Sri and in today's video I am going to show you how to make this cute little baby elephant amigurumi. It's really super easy to make and perfect for beginners, and they make the most adorable keychains. To make this you'll need one color yarn for the body. I use some black beads for the eyes. You can also use black yarn or safety eyes. You'll need a blank keychain, some stuffing to stuff your amigurumi, and for tools you will need a crochet hook, some pins and yarn needle, something to use as a stitch marker, and a pair of scissors. So let's get started. I'm going to use this light blue yarn. First I'm separating out a little bit of yarn from my main yarn skein. This is for the underbelly of my elephant. If you have multiple yarn skeins, you don't have to worry about this step. This is a 4-ply yarn, and with it I'm going to use a 3mm crochet hook, which is a couple of sizes smaller than what is recommended for this yarn. It's actually recommended to use a 4mm hook with this. We do this so that our stitches are nice and tight and none of the stuffing shows through. We are going to start by making a magic circle. To do that, wrap your yarn up and over your finger like so, forming a cross in the front. Then insert your hook underneath the cross. Take the yarn from the other side and pull through. Then again yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. Now remove this loop from your finger, and this is the magic circle that we are going to work into. Start by making a chain 1. This chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Then we are going to make 6 single crochets into the magic circle. To make a single crochet, insert your hook into the magic circle and pull up a loop. You will have 2 loops on your hook like this. Yarn over and pull through the 2 loops, and that finishes 1 single crochet. Let's do it again. Insert your hook into the magic circle and pull up a loop. 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. Now we are going to make 4 more single crochets like this for a total of 6 single crochets. After you finished making 6 single crochets, you can pull on this tail to cinch the magic circle completely closed, and this brings us to the end of round 1. At the end of round 1, we have 6 single crochets. This amigurumi is going to be worked in continuous rounds, so we need to mark the last stitch of the round. For that I am using a paper clip here, but you can use anything. You can use a yarn in a different color, or you can also get proper stitch markers. Round 2 is an increase round. For this round, we are going to increase in each stitch all the way around. An increase is simply placing 2 single crochets into one stitch. So, go into that first single crochet and make 1 single crochet. Then make 1 more single crochet into that same stitch, and that is our increase stitch. Again, into the next stitch, place 2 single crochets. Now into the remaining 4 stitches of the round, make increases, that is 2 single crochets into the same stitch. When you reach the last stitch of the round, remove the stitch marker and place 2 single crochets into that stitch as well. This brings us to the end of round 2. At the end of round 2, you will have 12 single crochets. Go ahead and mark the new last stitch of the round. For round 3, I am going to make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around, keeping the stitch count constant at 12. Here I am at the last stitch of round 3. I am going to remove the stitch marker and place one single crochet into that stitch as well. Then replace the stitch marker into the new last stitch of the round. For round 4, we are going to repeat the same thing as round 3, making one single crochet into each stitch all the way around, keeping the stitch count constant at 12. This is the end of one leg of the elephant. You'll need to make 4 of these legs in total. On 3 of the legs, we are going to cut the excess yarn and fasten off, leaving a little bit of a tail for weaving in. And on the 4th leg, we are going to keep the yarn still attached and continue working with it. Now we are getting started on the body of the elephant. Start with the leg with the yarn still attached. For round 5, make one single crochet into the first 9 stitches of this round. Here I finished making one single crochet into the first 9 stitches. I have 3 stitches remaining on this round. Now bring in your second leg. We are going to start working from the stitch after the one where we just fastened off. We are going to start working over the tail as well as we go. Again, make one single crochet into the first 9 stitches of this leg. Here I finished working into the first 9 stitches of this leg. Now the two legs should be connected like this. If you have a bit extra tail remaining after this, it's better to cut it off now. It has been worked over enough. Otherwise, it can come in the way of making the underbelly later on. Now I am going to repeat the same thing with the remaining two legs, making one single crochet into the first 9 stitches of each and working over the tail as I go. Here I finished connecting 3 of the legs. Don't forget to cut the excess yarn tail after making the 9 single crochets. Then move on to the 4th leg. Now all 4 legs have been connected. Now make a single crochet into the next stitch after the stitch marker to join to form a loop. This is going to be the first stitch of our next round. Move your stitch marker to the previous stitch that we made. For round 5 we have made 36 stitches around. For round 6 I am going to make one single crochet into each stitch all the way around all of the 36 stitches, and then I am going to repeat the same thing for round 7, 8, 9 and 10. So for 5 rounds in total I am going to finish this and meet back up with you. Here I finished making up to round 10. Now I am going to close up this hole at the bottom, which is going to be the underbelly of the elephant. This is where the little bit of yarn that we left at first is going to come in handy. To join the yarn, we are going to wrap it on our crochet hook like so. On each of the legs, there are going to be 3 stitches that we have not worked into. These 3 stitches in the middle, the ones on either side have already been worked into. We are going to stitch these 3 stitches together. Go into the first of the 3 stitches and make a slip stitch into it to join your yarn. Then start by making a chain 1. This chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Bring that yarn tail to the back and work over it. Then go into the same stitch that we made a slip stitch into and pull up a loop. You will have 2 loops on your hook. But don't complete this stitch yet. Go into the next stitch and pull up a loop. Now you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Again go into the third stitch and pull up a loop. Now you will have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all of the 4 loops on your hook, and this is 3 single crochets together. Now we are going to work into the next 2 stitches that has already been worked into. Go into the next stitch of this leg and pull up a loop. That stitch already has a stitch in it, but don't worry about that. Then we are going to go into the next stitch of the next leg that also has a stitch in it. Pull up a loop. You will have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3, and that's 2 stitches together. Then we're going to do the next 3 stitches of this leg together. Then again 2 stitches in between the legs together. Continue repeating like this all the way around. Once you reach the end of this round, slip stitch into the first stitch to join and then fasten off. This is the only round for the underbelly part. You will have 8 stitches around. Now to close up this hole all the way, we are going to weave this yarn tail in and out through the front loops of all of the stitches like so. After doing this to all of the 8 stitches, you can pull on this tail to close up the hole. You can leave that yarn tail hanging there for now. We are going to deal with it later. At this point, you can also put in your safety eyes. I am going to stick on my eyes after I complete the amigurumi, but I am going to show you the spots where you need to put the eyes. On any one of the sides, we are going to place the eyes in between rounds 9 and 10. So start counting from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now locate the center stitch of the 9th round, which is this one. Count 3 stitches on its right. This is where we are going to place one eye. Again from the same stitch, count 3 stitches to the left. That's the place for the other eye. I didn't have safety eyes in the correct size. That's why I'm going to stick on some beads for it at the end. You will need 4mm eyes for this. However, sticking on beads is only okay if you're making this for an adult. If you're making it for a child and you don't have safety eyes, it's better to just embroider on the eyes instead. Glued on eyes can come off and become choking hazards. Then we're going to continue with the body with round 11. From round 11, we're going to start decreasing. Start by making one single crochet into the first 4 stitches. Then into the next 2 stitches, we are going to make an invisible decrease. For an invisible decrease, we are going to only go under the front loop of the stitch like this. If you look at a stitch, each stitch has a front loop and a back loop. We are going to only go under the front loop. Then twist the hook around and go under the front loop of the next stitch and pull up a loop. Then yarn over and pull through 2 like normal. And that's our invisible decrease stitch. Then again into the next 4 stitches we are going to make one single crochet. Then into the next 2 stitches invisible decrease. We are going to continue repeating the sequence of one single crochet into the next 4 stitches and then invisible decrease all the way around, repeating this 4 more times for a total of 6 times. Here I am almost at the end of round 11. Remove the stitch marker and invisible decrease into the last 2 stitches. Don't forget to replace your stitch marker. At the end of round 11, you will have 30 single crochets. For round 12, make 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches. Then into the next 2 stitches, invisible decrease. Then again 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. Then into the next 2 stitches, invisible decrease. Continue repeating this sequence of 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches and then invisible decrease 4 more times. Here I am almost at the end of round 12. Remove the stitch marker and invisible decrease into the last 2 stitches. Replace your stitch marker. At the end of round 12, you will have 24 stitches. For round 13, make 1 single crochet into the first 2 stitches. Then into the next 2 stitches, invisible decrease. Then again 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Then into the next 2 stitches, invisible decrease. Repeat this sequence 4 more times. Here I am almost at the end of round 13. Remove the stitch marker and invisible decrease into the last 2 stitches. At the end of round 13, you will have 18 single crochets. For round 14, make 1 single crochet into that first stitch. Then into the next 2 stitches, invisible decrease. Then 1 single crochet into the next stitch. Then into the next 2 stitches, invisible decrease. Continue repeating this sequence all the way around 4 more times. At the end of round 14, you will have 12 single crochets. At this point, we are going to stuff the body. So I am putting my stitch marker into this loop instead of the last stitch and pulling it tight. This is just so that the loop does not get hidden inside the stuffing. With the stuffing, go down to the feet first before doing the rest of the body. Individually stuff all of the 4 legs. Once there is enough stuffing in the legs, stuff the rest of the body. Don't worry if this bottom hole comes a little bit loose. We are going to tighten it up later once and for all. Then we are going to get started on round 15. For round 15, we are going to decrease into every stitch around. I am keeping one finger on top of the stuffing to keep it out of the way while I do the last round. At the end of round 15, you will have 6 stitches. Now fasten off, leaving a long enough tail to close up the hole. Then to close up the hole, I am going to weave this tail in and out through the front loops of all of the stitches of this round. After you finish doing this to all of the stitches, pull on this tail to close up the hole. I have put on the eyes off camera in the previously mentioned spots. Then first take this bottom yarn tail on your yarn needle, pull on it one last time to close up the hole properly. Then bring that yarn tail in through the middle of that hole and out through any one of the sides of the elephant. Then I am going to take this top yarn tail on my needle. Then bring that yarn tail down through the center of that hole and then out through the same hole as the previous yarn tail. Then we are going to tie a knot using these two tails. Then cut off the excess yarn and hide the knot into the body by pushing it in using the back of your yarn needle. That's the body of the elephant complete. For the trunk, we are going to start by making a magic circle. Then chain 1 to start and make 4 single crochets into it. After making the 4 single crochets, pull on this tail to cinch the magic circle completely closed, and this brings us to the end of round 1. We are going to go ahead and mark the last stitch of the round. For round 2, we are going to increase in every alternate stitch. So start by making 1 single crochet into that first stitch. Then into the next stitch, make 2 single crochets. Again 1 single crochet into the next stitch. Then remove the stitch marker and place 2 single crochets into the last stitch of the round. This brings us to the end of round 2. At the end of round 2, you will have 6 stitches. You will notice that your work will start to curl up on the wrong side like this. To flip it to the right side, simply push it on the other side using something blunt like a pair of scissors or the back of your crochet hook. This is supposed to be the tip of the trunk, so it should be a bit pointed. Now go ahead and mark the last stitch of the round. For round 3, make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. This brings us to the end of round 3. If your piece gets a bit misshapen like this, you can again reshape it in the same way. Go ahead and mark the last stitch of the round. For round 4, make 1 single crochet into the first 2 stitches. Then into the next 2 consecutive stitches, we are going to increase. Then into the remaining 2 stitches of the round, make 1 single crochet. This brings us to the end of round 4. You will have 8 stitches. Go ahead and mark the last stitch of the round. For round 5, make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. For round 6, start by making 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches. Then into the next 2 consecutive stitches, increase. Then into the remaining 3 stitches of this round, make 1 single crochet. This brings us to the end of round 6. You will have 10 stitches. Go ahead and mark the new last stitch of the round. Then for round 7, make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. Round 7 is the last round for the trunk. It should have a slight curve to it like this. Now slip stitch into the next stitch like so, and then fasten off, leaving a long enough tail for sewing it on. Then I'm going to stuff the trunk with a little bit of stuffing. To push it right down to the tip, use your scissors. Define the slight curve of the trunk a little bit, and that's it. For the ears, start by making a magic circle and then make 6 single crochets into it. Then for round 2, increase in every stitch around. At the end of the round, you will have 12 stitches. Then for round 3, we are going to make 1 single crochet into only the first 9 stitches of the round. Here I finished making my 9 single crochets. There should still be 3 stitches remaining. Now fasten off, leaving a long enough tail to sew on the ear. You'll of course need to make 2 of this piece. Now that we have made all of our pieces, we are going to start sewing them together, starting with the trunk. Place it evenly in between the 2 eyes like so and pin it in place. Make sure that while positioning, the curve of the trunk is upwards like so. Next, I am going to show you the best and most seamless way of sewing your pieces together, at least the best one that I know of. Starting from where the yarn tail is, go down into the body and then come up where the next stitch of the trunk is. Then go into the next stitch of the trunk. Then go back down to the same hole that we came out of and then come back up near the next stitch. Then go into the next stitch of the trunk and then back down to the same hole and out near the next stitch of the trunk. As you can see, this join looks very seamless. There is barely any stitches visible. Continue repeating like this all the way around. After you have finished sewing, don't forget to remove the pins. Then bring this yarn tail in through the base of the trunk and then out through the top middle of the back of the amigurumi. We are going to use this yarn tail to attach our keychain later on. Next I am going to sew on the ears. First I am going to cut off this yarn tail from the back of it. If you want, you can weave it in even more, but I have never had any issue of this coming unraveled. Then position the ear one stitch away from the eye and center it with respect to the eye as well. Once you are happy with the placement, pin it in place before sewing. First, sew through the first 3 stitches of the ear which we haven't worked in the third round. Then we are going to tack the ear down to the body by making a few small stitches behind the ear. This is just so the ear doesn't stick out. Also, don't forget to remove the pin. After you finish sewing on the ear, bring that yarn tail behind the ear and out through any one of the sides of the elephant. Now I am going to repeat the same thing on the other side with the other ear. Make sure that they are symmetric on both sides. Here I finished sewing on my second ear. Now bring that yarn tail in through the back of the ear and then out through the same hole as the yarn tail of the other ear. Then tie a knot using these two tails. Then cut the excess yarn and hide the knot into the body by pushing it in using the back of your yarn needle. Next I am going to add the tail. It's going to be at the back of the amigurumi in between rounds 8 and 9. First you will have to locate the center stitch, which seems to be this one. We are going to attach our yarn to this stitch. To do that, wrap your yarn on your crochet hook like so. Then go into that stitch and make a slip stitch to join. Then chain 3. Then cut the excess yarn and fasten off, leaving only a little bit of tail. Then using your yarn needle, unravel this last little bit of yarn. This is going to be the tail hair of the elephant. Then trim it up, leaving behind only a little bit. Then take this yarn tail on your yarn needle and then bring it in to the base of the tail and out anywhere on the body. Finally, we are going to take this center yarn tail on our yarn needle. Then use it to sew through the jumping of the keychain and then go back down through the same hole and then out where the other yarn tail is. Then tie one last knot using these two yarn tails. Then cut the excess yarn and hide the knot into the body. And that's it. I hope you guys liked this video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.